Football is one of the most popular team games in the world. It is a fast game, rather complicated technically and tactically, that requires quick thinking from the players, independent decision-making and the ability to analyze errors. The main distinguishing feature of football is the constant changes in the situation on the playing field and associated change in football players' motion activity. Effectiveness often depends on the level of the player's technical proficiency, whereas the modern footballer's technical arsenal is quite huge. A variety of stops, strikes against the ball, dribble. One of the most frequently used technique is the kick with the inner side of the foot. This kick is mainly used for making short and medium passes, as well as for hitting the opponent's goal from close range. This trick is referred to the category of high-precision actions. Let us consider the specific of the kick with the inner side of the foot. The roll starting place, the ball and the target are roughly on the same line. The sweep is performed during the final running step. The kicking movement begins with simultaneous flexion and rotation of the leg outwards. At the moment of the impact, the foot is positioned strictly perpendicularly to the direction of the ball flight. The kick is performed by the middle of the inner surface of the foot. Position of the foot at the moment of kick is retained in a posting period. Good day, guys! Let us begin our lesson. Today we are going to study the kick with the inner side of the foot. Mastering of the kick with the inner side of the foot begins at the early stages of young players' training. The effectiveness of training depends on the nature of the didactic interaction of coach and pupil. The coach transfers to young sportsmen training information of both verbal and visual character, which must be supplemented by kinesthetic sensations with the correct execution of the motor action. For this, the most commonly used are the following methodological approaches. The first approach is the personal showing of technique. Coach performs study movements at the same time he comments on his actions. It is done in order to focus the students on the key aspect of the technique. Note that the representative of educational information with personal showing, the coach must not only possess the technique at a good level, but be able to demonstrate it. The second approach is that the technique is shown by one of the students. In that case, visualization of informativeness depends on the level of students' technical readiness. The coach acquires additional possibilities for represent of study information. For example, to prevent the demonstration of typical errors, to consider in detail aspects of the technique, and to explain irregularities of movement form. The third approach is based on the method of disposal. Students assimilate study information during exercise of the required movement. The exercise itself is done in parts. This allows the coach to promptly judge the students' movement with possessed information their correct kinesthetic sensations. All these so-called traditional ways to ensure visibility have a common effect. Students do not always have time to understand the details of a motor task. In order to fix, evaluate and learn all the characteristics of the motion, it takes for a long time and a lot of repetitions. It's important that students to have had the opportunity to constantly have in front of oneself the standard performance of the technique. The solution to this problem is possible with subject to the application e-learning toolkit for football, which was developed in Grodno State University of Yanka Kupalan. This toolkit is applied directly for during training lessons. Multimedia visibility on a practical lesson applies to young athletes who are able to obtain academic information in the most accessible way. Teaching for motion always starts with the phase of students' formation of motion task. As compared with traditional ways of visibility, computer video image have more benefits. A coach can stop playback to explain the order of motion construction at key points. Slow motion lets to consider rapid movement in details, to see regularities of coordination interactions between different parts of the body. By means of special video player of electronic toolkit for football also can imagine separate fragments in the structure of motor actions. For example, to study the kick with the inner side of the foot, it is important to demonstrate technique of leg movements from the swing to contact with the ball. Computer visualization can also use in the process of practical mastering of motor act. It's very important that students to acquire complex of sensation accompanying the right motion in the process of special exercises. For this, a coach must constantly comment the quality of technique. In the case of error detection, it's necessary to provide correction. Subject to provide lesson of multimedia software, this correction is executed on the basis of visual mark, which take place in the content of the educational video. As a result, increases the effectiveness of exercises. Students constantly have in front of itself the sample to which it must endeavor. By removing the need to carry out a personal show, a coach has more time for individual work. As a rule, the initial stage of teaching technique of sports motion accompanying a lot of mistakes. This stage has the ability to influence on the quality of training sportsmen in the future. Incorrect motion stereotypes are very often become an obstacle to further growth of skill. For example, in the study of technique of the kick with the inner side of the foot, students often make the following mistakes. An incorrect statement of supporting leg. Rim at the moment of impact is not positioned right angles to the ball flight. The direction of motion of the leg after impact does not coincide with the direction of the ball. Toe of kick leg is pointing down. Improving the efficiency of training work to correct mistakes in technique is one of the most valuable benefits of multimedia visibility. A coach works individually with a student who makes mistakes. A coach together with a young sportsman search for the causes of the mistakes. The main thing is that it contributes to enhance the cognitive activity of the students. Conscious attitude to the construction of the motion is one of the important factors ensuring success in learning. Sportsmen, understanding and realizing regularities of motion construction, acquire the ability to effectively address the task motor of the corresponding class. And this is the key to the formation of high-quality individual technique and the acquisition of a higher level of technical preparedness. Only a trained technical footballer has the ability to solve a variety of game situations, and this can help our ebook.